Hello guys, welcome to Major's Garage. This is Suellio. I'm the crew chief for the Formula 1, Formula 3 and Formula 3.5. Today we're gonna see my lap here with the McLaren Formula 1 at Suzuka. So let's go straight to the first corner. Quite tricky one because you have to actually start turning, and flat out, even before you start turning, then you start using this first entire corner here as just a braking zone for the actual corner that comes after. So I do not want to brake and then accelerate and then brake again. I want to already bring the car into this first apex, let's call it a double apex, and then I want to start braking a little bit before the first curb here, and I want to go very close to the curb but not touching it, and then still braking, letting the car go slightly wide. As I turn more and more and more, I am releasing my brakes accordingly. I'm really patient here with that brake, basically creating a tail on the brake trace all the way into the actual apex, and then I'm getting back on the throttle quite aggressively, straight to the traction limit. So I'm not going super progressive on the throttle here. I'm actually doing it pretty aggressively to the traction limit that here I judge to be around 65% throttle. And then after that, I will start progressively increasing the throttle all the way into the exit as I get less and less and less rotation, and I am able to apply more throttle. So again, turning in, then starting to brake gently. As I start braking, you can see that I'm actually trying to turn less and less and less and less and less, just slightly. It's just to be aware that you're not forcing the front tires as you start braking. And then I want to let the car run wide here to the left. Be careful with this curb. If you do touch the green with just the rear, the difference in grip is enough to make the car spin. So be careful not to use this green. Just bring the car all the way to the edge of this curb maximum. That's gonna be a safe choice. And then turning in patiently, still loading the brakes, never coasting, always carrying a little bit of brakes just to load the fronts, and then getting back on the throttle quite aggressively to the traction limit. Boom, and then progressively going up as I unwind my steering wheel. Then for the next one, I want to bring the car as early as possible to the left. To the right here, so I can prepare the next left-hander. I am churning and then slightly lifting just a little bit. I want to, actually not a little bit, but not completely. And I want to really use this green part here on the inside of the curb. And then I want to really bring my car as much as possible to the left here. As you can see, I'm slightly more to the left than to the middle of the track when I'm starting to change direction. Then I change direction quite quickly here. Boom, as you can see, I'm looking for a good timing here for the change of direction. And then loading up the fronts with a little bit of brakes, just 5% brakes here, and then getting back on the throttle quite aggressively to the traction limit. So it's always getting back on the throttle quickly to where the tires would be almost spinning. So I'm really trying to rotate the car with that aggressive application. Of course, be careful not to go straight to 100%, because this way this car is too powerful and the car would instantly spin. Then bringing my car as much as possible to the left here, but as you can see, there's not a lot of time for that, so just a little bit to prepare the next corner. And then again, turning and then loading up the front with that 1 to 5% brakes, using just a little bit of this curb, and then already getting back on the throttle same way, aggressive to the traction limit, so you can rotate the car a little bit more on the exit, and then changing direction here, looking for a very late apex on this longer right-hander here, and very patient with the trail brake. Again, just let 1 to 5% brakes, and then same thing, getting back on the throttle quite aggressively so I can make the car rotate. And then from here, I want to really be super aggressive on the throttle, make the car rotate with the throttle. As you can see, I'm bringing the car just a little bit to the right, and then changing direction. As I feel that the rear is losing traction, I lift a little bit. So I'm basically controlling all of that corner here with my right foot, basically. I'm really controlling. The more rotation I want, the more I get back on the throttle. If it's turning too much, I lift my throttle slightly. So it's really controlling the rotation of the car just with the throttle here. Then we go to Dagner 1 and 2. Basically, I'm braking slightly before the 50 here. I'm braking quite quickly up and then immediately starting to turn as I release the brakes. I do not want to use too much of this curb. It is possible, but if you do it, sometimes the car bottoms out and turns in an unpredictable way. So I prefer to avoid it a little bit. As you can see, I'm basically going very close to it, but not actually using the curb. And then I'm getting back on the throttle as I hit this. In this case, I want to be hitting the throttle here, but I had to wait just a little bit more. As you can see, 1 car or 2 cars after the first apex, I got back on the throttle. This throttle here in between helps you get a little bit extra finer rotation on this first corner. And then really trying to quickly correct the car here as you hit this curve. Be careful not to use this screen here, because then the bottom of the car will hit on this edge here, as you can see, and the car will basically go on rails, and it's going to be very difficult to come back. So just using the outside tires on the maximum on the green, but probably the safest way is to use just the curb at the left edge of the curb. And then again on very aggressive braking on a straight line here, very parallel to the white line, using a little bit of the curb and trying to turn in a way that you do not hit this curb. This curb unsettles the car a little bit, makes the car push when you want to get back on the throttle here, so I prefer to avoid it. I'm braking and I'm turning very progressively, and I try to actually get back on the throttle quite aggressively here. As you can see, I'm really punching the throttle as I am passing the second apex here, and then I'm basically building up that progression, that throttle application all the way into the exit here. And also here, the same thing. Try not to use the green, especially the second one here, because the car will bottom out and you will lose probably 1/10 or 2, because the car will not have traction, or you can even spin. So be careful with that. Then for this hairpin, I found safe to be actually trying to align my car to what would be this line here after the curb. But I do lift slightly. As you can see, I'm lifting here, and then when I feel ready and slightly before the end of the curb, with my car almost aligned already with this white line, I start braking. So I actually do lift a little bit before I brake, and I'm braking pretty hard here. Then decreasing just a little bit as the speed goes down and you lose downforce, and then decreasing more and more and more as I start turning in. I go back to second gear here. As you can see, I'm really carrying slightly the brakes. I'm coasting for 1/10 of a second before I get back on the throttle, so I'm basically not coasting. And then I'm being very careful here on this exit. As you can see, I'm still not 100% throttle. I'm really preventing the car from having too much spin on the rear tires. Then going for a spoon, I'm using this little access road here as a reference. Basically, I'm braking a little bit before, but as you can see, my maximum pressure is around, it's actually even a little bit before that access road. So as you can see, I'm still starting to brake. So you can definitely use the access road as a braking reference. I'm not braking for too long though. I'm braking quite quickly and then already immediately starting to turn in as I slowly release the brakes. I want to carry a lot of speed on this first apex, and then I want to even accelerate a little bit more just to leave the car all the way to the exit here. And then I'm braking just a little bit more basically just loading the fronts here. I'm not actually braking again. I'm just loading the fronts to make the car turn on the second corner. There is very little mechanical grip on the second corner because it's a little bit downhill and almost like off camber, so the car will have less grip than you expect. And then when I get around here, I really want to rotate the car with the throttle. When I get on the middle of the corner, I am really accelerating quite aggressively, as you can see, always quickly to the traction limit, and then going up very progressively as I see that the car is completing the rotation, and I'm able to push the car forward and forward and forward without getting wheel spin, just getting that little rotation from the throttle application. Then we go to this very fast left-hander here. Be careful when you're using the ERS all the way to the entry of this corner. You will actually need to lift just slightly so you can do the corner. But if you notice that the delta is getting red at this moment, because basically we have this lap A, lap B situation where the ERS actually does not activate all the way, depending on the lap. If you have the ERS stopping around here, then you can actually do this flat out because you will not have too much speed. But if your ERS is too strong and you're actually going to, let's say, 324, as I can see here on my speed, I will actually need to lift just slightly. As you can see, I'm lifting just to 50% and then already getting back. Paying attention not to overdo the front tires. It's very easy to wear the tires here by trying to turn too much. So as you can see, I'm turning much less than 45 degrees here. And then again, same thing. If you have ERS and you're carrying a lot of speed, you're actually going to brake a little bit before the 100. Whereas without ERS, you can actually brake a little bit closer to 100 than the situation here. So as you can see, I'm actually braking. I'm reaching my maximum pressure even before I am going by the 100. You can see this is already full pressure. And then I'm pointing the car slightly to the right, so that when the track turns a little bit, I will meet this white line here. So try not to be perfectly parallel to it, because then when the track turns, you will find yourself having to turn while braking, and this is not good. So what I do is I actually turn the car slightly so I can basically meet the line and not need to turn too much. I still do turn a little bit, as you can see, but it's gonna be much less if you point the car well right before you start braking. And then I want to do a lot of rotation right before I hit the first apex. I want to put my inside tire on this green here, and just a quick trick, right before you hit the curb, right here, actually not right before, but as you can see here, when the car is hitting the ground, try to accelerate just a little bit so you can lift the front, so that you stabilize a little bit the car when you hit the ground again. So if you have no throttle when you hit the ground at this point, the car may be a little bit upset. So just be sure that you are using just a little bit of throttle on this in between, and then lift again. Try to use a little bit of this curb, and then try to carry as much speed as possible out of this. And then here, as you can see, I'm actually doing 100% throttle, but as soon as I go over this curve here and I start upshifting to 4th and 5th, I'm actually lifting just a little bit, because there's too much power here. When you come off the curb, you have a little bit of a bump feeling, and if you are full throttle, it's very easy to spin. I don't know if you guys remember, but Bottas did spin here in the Suzuka Grand Prix. I think it was last year. So be careful with that. I lift, I wait a little bit, I go to 5th gear. Actually, yeah, right before I shift to 5th gear, I'm back to 100%. So as you can see here, full throttle, lift, then full throttle again, just a little bit. So yeah, this was 130.504, no DRS and race fuel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you next week. Bye bye.